It is called track and field. Somehow through the centuries, those clinical terms have emerged in the place of the simpler, more descriptive ones: running and jumping and throwing. It ranks with boxing and wrestling as the most universal of human competitions. And Americans are proud that over the years, this country has provided with much of its drama. Developing reputations will be taking big strides toward becoming international figures with their performances here. Working with me, the man who won the 5,000 meters 3 times and the 1,500 meters twice in these championships, Marty Liquori. And Marty, already a dramatic story on the men's side.
Well, Jim, it was greatly anticipated, the return of Carl Lewis here. He'd come to Indianapolis twice and had his greatest long jump. And in addition to that, he'd run the fastest 200 meters at sea level. So everyone anticipated him coming back and having a great performance here at what is probably the premier facility in the country. But earlier in the week, he said his leg injury had not healed and he could not long jump, but he was going to come and do the sprints. And here's what happened in his first heat of the sprints. A typical Carl Lewis start. He was out with the pack. He's in the 3rd lane with a full-length bodysuit. He gets out with the pack. He's right in the midst of things. But somewhere along 60 yards, we sensed something was wrong. Where Carl Lewis usually separates himself, he did not make a move. At about 30 yards from the tape, you'll see him just glance over to his right to check place. He needed to be in the top 3 to advance, and he didn't. You'll see he is in 4th place here. He looks over, tries to lean forward, but he still comes up with 4th place, doesn't advance in the 100, and decided his leg was not just right. He wasn't going to run the 200, so he's out of the meet, but now gives some of the focus to Kurt Baptiste, his training partner in Houston, who now has a legitimate chance of winning the 100 and 200 meters also.
An intriguing story, and later we'll be hearing a conversation that Marty had with Carl Lewis about his failure to qualify in the 100 meters. Also working with us is a woman who has been instrumental in pioneering the development of women's running in the country, Kathrine Switzer. And Kathrine, which women's event do you think best illustrates the depth of competition on that side?
Well, Jim, if I were to choose one event, it would have to be the women's 100-meter hurdles tonight. Featured of Benita Fitzgerald-Brown, the defending Olympic champion. She's going to be chased tonight, though, by Stephanie Hightower, who is the 4-time national champion at this distance, but missed making the Olympic team last year by less than 1/100th of a second. So this race tonight is really important to her. I think both of them, though, are going to have to watch out. Rhonda Blanford from Nebraska. She's really strong. She won the NCAA in and outdoors this year, and she's been looking wonderful in the trial, so it's going to be a great race tonight.
Indeed, Kathrine, that will be the first we see, and it takes place against the backdrop of that trials finish last summer. You may remember 4 women coming down to the tape together in Los Angeles. Stephanie Hightower, the grande dame of American high hurdling, was the one who was left out. She was touched out by less than 100th of a second by Pam Page. Benita Fitzgerald went on to win the Olympics. Now all 3 return for the final of the event here. The world record in the women's 100-meter hurdles is held by Grażyna Robsztyn of Poland. The American record held by Stephanie Hightower, who will be in this final and will be attempting to make somewhat for her failure to make the Olympic team a year ago. Hightower will be in lane 3 as she tries to win her 5th national championship in the event. Next to her, Pam Page, the woman who tucked out by less than 100th of a second to knock off of the Olympic team last year. And in the middle of the track, in lane 5, is Rhonda Blanford, the NCAA University of Nebraska, indoors and outdoors rising force in the event. Next to her, the Olympic gold medalist, top American since 1983, Benita Fitzgerald-Brown. And in lane 7, another woman who could conceivably win it, 18-year-old University of Tennessee freshman, LaVonna Martin. In lane 1, Sophia Hunter of Jamaica. It should be pointed out that the committee which governs women's track and field in the United States allows foreign athletes to be in this meet, whereas the men's committee takes precisely the opposite position. The 5 contenders from lane 3 through lane 7.
Well, Jim, with the closeness of the races lately, I think even now, before the gun goes off, they're thinking about that lean at the finish.
And the good start for Hightower in lane 3, who has the lead, but now Rhonda Blanford in the middle of the track has come on to catch her. As they come over the last hurdle, Blanford is just ahead of Hightower, and she's going to lean forward at the tape. Apparently, Rhonda Blanford leaning in just ahead of Stephanie Hightower, and she continues to emerge as a national force in this event, now with a victory over the Olympic gold medalist Benita Fitzgerald-Brown.
Well, she also ran a very good time. Stephanie Hightower in lane 3 was out of the blocks well, but Blanford is coming along as a hurdler, and she just keeps her cool here. In the past, maybe when Stephanie got a little bit of a lead, the other hurdlers would, and they started to press. You cannot press in this event. You got to stay calm, and really the action really doesn't start until they come off of this last hurdle. Now they know it's a race. Now they see the lines coming up on the track. They know how far the finish is, and they start to time their lean, and of course Blanford won it even without a perfect.
And by coming out of the blocks almost equal to Hightower, Blanford never allowed Benita Fitzgerald-Brown to be a factor in the race. Rhonda Blanford first, the time very fast. Stephanie Hauer second, Benita Fitzgerald-Brown third, and now Kathrine Switzer is on the infield with the winner.
Ron, congratulations on the race today. Looking forward to it.
100-meter hurdles is held by one of the preeminent figures in the sport of track and field, Edwin Moses. Moses and his long winning streak are not in Indianapolis. In his absence, the favorite in the event is the man in lane 6, 19-year-old heir apparent Danny Harris, second in the Olympic Games, second in the Olympic trials, EAA champion this year. He should get a good test from 25-year-old Andre Phillips, who will be in lane 4. He is the third fastest man of all time in the event. The rest of the field includes some extremely versatile athletes. David Patrick, who is equally gifted in the 400-meter run and the 400-meter hurdles, fourth fast all time. Nat Page, who has been an outstanding high jumper through most of his career. But you really expect the race, Marty, to be between Harris in lane 6 and Phillips in lane 4.
Andre Phillips is a veteran. He really should have been on the team last year. He got a heavy cold during the trials, didn't make the team. Danny Harris did. But the fact of the matter is, Danny Harris has never been beaten by anyone other than Edwin Moses. We'll see if Andre Phillips can come back this year with a new strategy. Andre has spent the early part of this season running the 110-meter high hurdles, and in the trials, it appeared like he had speed to burn. And if he's got the strength that he had the last 2 years, we should see a new Andre Phillips.
Good. In lane 6, the gold top and the red shorts, that is Danny Harris, and he is an entirely different kind of runner than Edwin Moses. Something different to watch. Meanwhile, Andre Phillips has come out of the blocks in a big hurry, and as they go down the backstretch, Andre Phillips is making up a lot of stack.
He already has. Danny Harris stutter stepped over the second hurdle. Really hasn't recovered from that. He's starting to get sloppy now, and Phillips is going to have a good lead as they come into the straightaway. For the last 2 hurdles, the staggers will be gone, and they will be running even. So Andre Phillips is the leader by a big margin.
Look at this lead, and keep in mind that Danny Harris has never lost to anybody but Edwin Moses in his career. But he's going to get a baptism of sorts here because Andre Phillips' experience has paid off in the National Outdoor Championships, and he has beaten Danny Harris, and he loves it.
Yeah, reminiscent of Sebastian Coe. He can't wait to come back in front of the press and the shakers and the movers of the sport and gloat and say, look, you counted me out, but I'm back, and he's back with a vengeance.
Indeed. For months, we've been speculating that Danny Harris would be the man to finally challenge Edwin Moses. Well, now here is an old challenger, Andre Phillips, with the fastest 400-meter hurdles race of his life. Let's look at Danny Harris on the backstretch early in the race, Marty.
Well, the big story early in the race was Danny Harris. You see him highlighted there. Now watch. He takes a few quick steps. 1, 2. He stutter steps, gets off balance coming off that hurdle, and here's the effect. Look at Andre Phillips way on the right of the screen. He starts to make up a lot of ground between those 2 hurdles because Danny Harris had lost his momentum.
And Marty, you spoke about the fact that Andre Phillips has been running the 110-meter high hurdles. The speed work gave him the impetus to run the fastest time of his long and illustrious career. Phillips first, Danny Harris second, Tony Rambo third. Kathrine Switzer and Marty Liquori at the U.S. Outdoor Track and Field Championships, turning out to be one of the most entertaining track meets of recent years. The world record in the women's 800-meter run is held by Jarmila Kratochvilova of Czechoslovakia. The American record by Mary Decker-Slaney. She is not here. In her absence, favorite's role in the race may fall to Claudette Grunendahl, the University of Oregon, 22 years old, NCAA champion. You expect her to be a finisher. She's very tall and rangy. If she is going to be challenged, perhaps that challenge will come from one of the real veterans of the sport, Robin Campbell, 26 years old, but a fixture at the national championship level ever since she was 14 years old. She may go out and start the race fast. And the one of whom you can't predict exactly what she'll do is 22-year-old Joetta Clark of Maplewood, New Jersey and Tennessee. She has the speed to finish, or she has strength to go out fast early. The rest of the field includes some other capable runners, but those are the 3 whom we would expect to be there at at the finish, Kathrine Switzer.
Yes, I'm expecting that Claudette Grunendahl is going to be the winner in this race. Of course, that's pretty grandiose to say, I know, but I think that she's going to tuck in behind somebody like a Robin Campbell who's going to take the race out pretty fast and hang in there. You know, Claudette has the advantage of what I would call the momentum of victory. She's been winning an awful lot, including the NCAAs, where she finished first distance and second in the 1500. Last year, she reversed those. And so she's really strong, and she's got that momentum going for her.
Right now, the leader is a bit of a surprise, 21-year-old Veronica McIntosh of Villanova. Second place is Julie Jenkins from Adams State. And right now, moving up into third place is another runner who could challenge to this race. And that one is Delisa Walton Floyd, whom you may remember as a national champion of a few years back. She took a year off to have a baby and is coming back. Now here comes Grunendahl with 1 lap to go, and Grunendahl is going to move into second place or into third place on Delisa Walton Floyd's shoulder.
The pace is still being set, though, by Veronica McIntosh of Villanova. She was second in the NCAA 800, and obviously she wanted to take that race out fast, but the field is catching up with her now. And in fact, she is now being passed.
This crowd is going to go crazy if Delisa Walton Floyd could win this race. She's the wife, you'll remember, the sprinter Stanley Floyd, who was one of our outstanding sprinters a few years back. And there is Walton Floyd on the inside, 7:35. She glanced to the outside and saw Grunendahl coming.
And Grunendahl is right on her shoulder. That's exactly what we thought she would do. But look who's coming up on the outside behind them. Robin Campbell, sticking right off Grunendahl's shoulder.
And now as they come down the straight, Campbell up back again. Delisa Walton Floyd trying to hold on. Claudette Grunendahl, and now here comes Louise Romo. Louise Romo is not a factor on the first 400 meters. She's moved up to challenge Grunendahl, and now it is going to be a 2-woman race to the finish. And you see the strength of Claudette Grunendahl. As superior stride length, she was able to pull away in the last 20 meters.
She sure was, but what a race from Louise. Louise Romo, who's doubling in the competition here tonight, giving Grunendahl a real surprise.
Louise Romo ran the 1,500 meters earlier and came back to provide a real challenge here. Look at the finish.
Louise Romo has given up her senior year at Cal Berkeley, and she has decided to concentrate on running. She's come up on Grunendahl to challenge her. She's looking very smooth and very powerful. She's a strong runner. She runs everything from 800 meters on up to about 5,000 meters. But Grunendahl is fighting back, striding out.
And a national championship to her NCAA title. And now you are seeing the response of the crowd here, not to the finish of the women's 800 meters, but to the fact that the scoreboard is telling me something I didn't see, that man right there, Willie Banks, has just broken the world record in the triple jump. The scoreboard showing a 59-foot triple jump for Willie Banks, and that would break the world record held by Yayo Oliveira of Brazil. Here's a look. Marty Liquori, what happened?
Well, he obviously hit a good one. We know that Willie is a little faster this year, but he would have had to really hit a tremendous jump to get any near 59 feet. Watch the arms. You can see that his timing was great. He knows it. He's got his mind on other things, though, as he goes over and watches the rail. I think he knows just how far that jump was.
I think he went over and temporarily rooted for his good friend and teammate Louise Romo in her effort to win the 800 meters. And then,
much like Beeman, it's taken a while to sink in that he demolished the world's record, but he's improved over a foot in 1 week.
He broke the American record a week ago. But Marty, as you say, this jump is more than a foot longer. Another look.
He just hit it perfectly. Watch the arms. They're in perfect sync with the legs, and the arms really control where those feet are going to land. He looks over to the side at the world record mark there, but he just doesn't seem to be shocked at all at what he's done.
We are told that this jump was 8 feet, 11 and a half inches. It has broken one of the longest standing records in the sport of track and field, Oliveira's world record in the triple jump. And as the meet goes on, we will obviously be trying to get an interview with Willie Banks. The men's 200-meter race in which we had expected that man, Carl Lewis, to be the favorite. But as you saw at the beginning of our show, Lewis failed to qualify 100-meter race and dropped out of the meet. And afterward, Marty asked him why he elected to come to this meet with a lingering hamstring injury.
Well, I think it's the last meet definitely in the United States for 1985. And also, it's a national championship. I think all the best people should be here. So I ran. I didn't really injure myself today, but I wasn't 100%. The only thing I can do is just wish good luck to everybody because they're around.
Well, weren't you afraid that with the excitement of the national championships, you'd get in there and maybe force it and get a more serious injury?
Well, that's the thing Coach Telez and I talked about all week long. Don't do that. Just relax and run the way you know, real smooth. And if you get a problem, just stop. If you don't get into a problem, just run as fast as you feel really comfortable doing. And that's what I did today. Today I wasn't 100%, but there's days like that. But I'm not really blaming anything on the injury. I came in here and ran because I wanted to, and I felt I was ready to run.
Lewis out of the meet now. In his absence, the favorite in the event is the world champion at 200. Calvin Smith, veteran sprinter, formerly at the University of Alabama, world record holder in the 100 meters, and he'll be running in lane 5. He should get a challenge from the man out in lane 7, Kirk Baptiste, who defeated Calvin Smith along with a field of other good sprinters in the 100-meter run here. Baptiste was the silver medalist in the event at the Olympics last summer. The world record, the 200 meters for men, was set at altitude by Pietro Minea of Italy, the fastest ever at sea level and the fastest by an American. 1975 run here on this track by Carl Lewis 2 summers ago. The field is a gaudy one. Jefferson in lane 1 was the Olympic bronze medalist. Lorenzo Daniel is a remarkable young talent. So are Roy Martin and Joe DeLoach, a couple of Texas high school sprinters with great futures. But sometimes Calvin Smith is really something to watch.
Well, Calvin was injured, slightly injured in the trials last year, didn't the team, and if anyone would like to win, it would be him, but it seemed like a dream until the trials here where he just hooked into his zone. There are times, I've seen it twice, where he just gets into his zone, his head rocks back, and you've never seen anybody faster.
Didn't make the Olympic team, as Marty mentioned, in either individual sprint, the 100 or 200 meters, though he did get a gold medal as part of the 4x100 meter relay team. Now there is the start. You see Baptiste in the full.
Oh, Calvin Smith is out. He's made stagger on Baptiste. He's leading. Calvin Smith's got it tonight.
But the man in lane 3 who is challenging him right now is Brady Crane. And now here on the outside of Calvin Smith comes Roy Martin and Kirk Baptiste. Calvin Smith faded down the stretch. And Kirk Baptiste and Roy Martin leaned into the tape together. I'm going to say it was close to call. Although our faithful statistician is putting a circle with a 1 next to Kirk Baptiste's name.
I think Baptiste, just at the last instant, got the chest down. It might have been his experience. Roy Martin was very impressive in the trials. He's a high runner. You see him in the black. Calvin Smith leading right now. Brady Crane, also on the inside of the track, ran fantastic for about 180 yards. Watch Roy Martin. I think Martin goes by Smith so quickly. He thinks he's got it won, but he's up against the best. Look at Kirk Baptiste already starting to gather. He's not going to drive forward, but he's going to snap this down. And I think he got Martin. He did.
He did indeed. You're absolutely right. So Kirk Baptiste has doubled in the U.S. Outdoor Championships. The winning time for Baptiste, 20.112 of a second ahead of Roy Martin, who will be attending SMU this fall. Calvin Smith finished 3rd. Meanwhile, the triple jump competition has now come to a close. And one of the most popular Americans in this sport, UCLA Law School graduate Willie Banks, is now the new world record holder in the event. Willie's standing by right now with Marty Liquori.
Willie, you must have learned something in the Olympics. What was a big change in your life?
I think the biggest change was that I was able to run. I'm not injured. I'm feeling good. Just reintroduce myself in the track and field. It's no longer a life and death situation. I'm out there having fun, and that's the difference. I mean, when you're having fun, you can't help but do well.
Was that it before the Olympics? You were the American record holder for a couple of years. Did you put too much pressure on yourself?
I really think I did. It was no longer fun. It became a job for me every day. You know, kind of like 9 to 5. All I did was triple jump or think about triple jump, eat the what have you. But also, I was injured. I wasn't feeling healthy. Going into the competition feeling like, well, maybe I can and maybe I won't. This time, tonight, I knew I was going to jump very, very far. I told a few of my friends that were standing around after my first jump, I said, the next jump's going to be the world record. I told Lee Balkin, the official, I said, it's there. I know it's there. I felt it. Everything was perfect for it.
And now, one final look at the single moment for which this meet will be long remembered. Willie Banks' world record triple jump. We'll be coming back to Indianapolis for more of the U.S. Outdoor Track and Field Championships, if time permits, following the conclusion of the Curry-Baez boxing match, which will be coming up right after this. 1,500 meters for men is still held by Steve Ovett of Great Britain. The American record is held by Steve Scott, who has won the national championship 5 times in his career and is always motivated to. Scott is here. He is in shape. He was second in the Olympic trials a year ago, as you'll recall, and then ran a very disappointing race in Los Angeles in finishing 10th at the Olympics. Another man who was disappointed last year, Notre Dame graduate Chuck Aragon. Lost Lunas, New Mexico. 26-year-old Aragon finished 4th in the Olympic trials by a tiny margin and missed a chance to go to the Olympics and improve his reputation. But the crowd favorite will be Jim Spivey, former Indiana star who won the Olympic trials. And earlier, Marty Liquori talked to Spivey about the experience of running Indianapolis before a crowd that loves him.
Jim, I know that a kick depends a lot on emotion. And being in front of a hometown crowd, you expect your kick to be even better here?
Well, yeah, I think running in front of the hometown fans is a great experience, and I can give a great example in the Sports Festival in '82, and I know you covered that meet, and Craig Virgin was ahead of me, and I remember in the race where they started chanting Spivey, Spivey, and I remember thinking to myself, I felt like telling the crowd to be quiet, because I was only 22 years old, but I remember coming up the turn and kicking. I didn't cry, but when I started to go by, then the crowd got very emotional then, and that, I was kicking up gear, so they didn't help me in that sense, but as soon as I got by Craig Virgin, I knew that it was a great feeling, and yeah, I think the adrenaline can definitely flow when the crowd is behind you.
The rest of the field is a good one, but the focus will be on those whom we've mentioned, Scott, Aragon, and Spivey. Particularly, I would think Marty Liquori, Jim Spivey, who's been on the verge of becoming the top American in this event ahead of Scott for a year or more now and hasn't quite gotten over the hump.
Well, Spivey has to be asking himself, what do I have to do to acknowledge #1? He won the Olympic trials last year and finished first of the Americans in the Olympic trials, but later in the summer, Steve Scott had a record, and Steve Scott was ranked top American for the 8th time. So with a win here, certainly keep the ball rolling among his fans for the #1 miler. Spivey in second right now, usually lags in the back because he has a very good sprint over the last 100 yards. Number of runners in this race that have to make a decision and change strategy. People like Dixon or Greg Dub Myers, Frank Asuma, people who can win most races by laying back and having a good kick, but when they get in the company of Spivey and Scott and Aragon, they have to realize they have to change their strategy and try and force the pace and get whatever they can last half a lap.
After 300 meters, it is very surprising to me to see Jim Spivey at the front of the pack. And a bumping incident behind him.
Well, Spivey is obviously trying to keep the pace exactly the pace he would like it by making it very slow, 61 seconds for the first. And because of the slowness and the fact that there are 12 men in the field, there was some bumping. I thought somebody went down, but if they did, they got up very quickly. Mark Crickert moving up. That is not Crickert. Crickert's in the black. He's usually the man who takes the lead.
It is Terry Brom from Indiana University, who is on Spivey's shoulder in second place right now. Behind Brom and Spivey, the man in the blue uniform, number 417, is Hacker, and he is an outside. And now Steve Scott is going to move up on the outside.
Spivey and Brom both went to Indiana. They trained against Spivey's 4 miles once a week to work out with Tim Brom. What they're doing here may be a blocking strategy, and Steve Scott in third is saying, uh-oh, I smell a rat. I'm going to get up here and protect my territory, and Scott will go a little bit earlier than usual because, you know, Terry Brom could be a blocker for Jim Spivey.
Aragon has been on the inside way, leading 4th to 5th place. He has not yet found room to run. And Scott is on the outside of the track. You see him moving up on Brom's shoulder. They've got about 600 meters to go in this race, and Marker is now moving up on the outside. He might like to see things get a little bit faster, too. So far, they seem to be playing into Jim Spivey's hands.
Well, he's been able to control the race, and if he pulls this off against someone like Scott, it would be a brilliant move. And Crickert, Dixon in black on the outside, the people who have to make the decisions, they have to know they can't outkick Spivey. And Steve Scott, they have to go early, but they've let Spivey control the race. Now Spivey's in danger of really getting boxed in. Adam Dick on his shoulder. Spivey may have let this develop into a hand and get out soon.
There's Fricker on the lead. There goes Steve Spott going by Spivey, and maybe he's going to Spivey on the inside there for a while. Here's and here comes Tim Hacker from Wisconsin moving back into things. They are trying to make make a run of it, and Spivey is blocked on the inside as they reach
And look at Aragon.
50-meter mark.
Look at Aragon. He's trying to jump everybody on the turn. He cut in early on Steve Scott, but that woke everybody up, and Spivey's gotten free. It'll be a fair race down the straightaway.
This is almost like a gang war with all the bumping that's going on out there. Aragon may have stole that quick move on the backstretch. Now here comes Steve Scott. Spivey's found running room in the mid-back, and he may get there. Jim Spivey has the most speed. He's going to go by Steve Scott. He has national championship in front of a crowd with hard for him here in Indianapolis. It looked for a while as though he was in trouble. His speed bailed him out.
That's right. It bailed him out, Jim, because with 400 meters to go, his strategy had backfired. Everyone came around him in. He managed to get out with 200 yards to go. I would say with 50 yards to go, I thought that Chuck Aragon had finally done it, finally risen to the top. Then I thought Steve Scott was coming back on him. Here would Aragon go. This is an old Peter Snell trick. Take the lead right before the turn when everyone least expects it. Tie the rest of the field up behind a slower run. But Steve Scott was not a slower runner. He went right with him. Look at Tim Hacker in blue. He stays in there. The same four men who played into the factor last year in the trials. And Steve Scott coming back now. Aragon, who moved just a little too soon. Spivey keeping his form, concentrating, hoping they'll come back, not trying to rush it, and he pulls it off with Hacker maybe getting second.
What a strong finish by Tim Hacker of Wisconsin. He shows you he's got something left for the future, but Jim Spivey come through. Steve Scott is the top American in the mile and the metric mile every year since 1976. That reign may now have ended. Spivey first, Steve Scott second, Tim Hacker just 200ths behind Scott in third place. And now, Kathrine Switzer is with the man who won it.
And Jim, who is the best 1,500-meter runner in the canal?
Well, I wouldn't say in America, but at this point, I won the American Championship, so yes, I'd be number one.
Let's talk a little bit about race strategy. It looked like the race was falling right into your hands, but it may have backfired on the backstretch, but you pulled it out. So tell me about the race.
Well, I had a lot of criticism for sitting back too often. I wanted to make it out well and then let someone else take the lead, but no one else wanted the lead, so I was content to run 60 seconds for the first couple laps. And then I knew that people started passing me with a lap to go, so that didn't bother me. They passed me, and I stuck in right behind Mark Fricker, and I was in great position at that point. The people passed me, but I was still in good position. And then coming out of the turn, I have to admit that it was I was closing on people. But I didn't know if I was going to be able to pull it out or not. I was a little tired, and I heard the crowd yelling. And I knew